1 of the NFL season is in the book, so here are my power rankings heading into week 2. Coming in at number 32, I have the New York Jets. Honestly, they just looked like the worst team in the league week 1. Maybe things will be different when Zach Wilson comes back and this O-line gets more healthy. Coming in at number 31, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Come on, Trevor. Come on, Trevor. I thought you were going to play better than that. Honestly, you have to play better than that. At number 30, I have the Atlanta Falcons. Just classic Falcons. How do you give up 17 points in the fourth quarter after giving up only 10 in the first 3? But honestly, this was a brutal loss for the Falcons, but it kind of showed they might have some potential to be decent this year. At number 29, I have the Houston Texans. A tie is good for the Texans versus a very decent Colts team. Well, maybe they're not that decent now after that performance, but listen, Davis Mills picked up right where he left off last season and is looking really, really good. At number 28, I have the Chicago Bears. What a huge win for the Bears in those crazy conditions. Justin Fields got it done versus the quarterback that was drafted ahead of him. At number 27, I have the Detroit Lions. Yes, they lost versus the Eagles, but this is just a very, very gritty team. They stuck around throughout this whole game. This Eagles team is really good. Good things are ahead for this Lions team. At number 26, I have the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks might have just pulled off the biggest upset of week 1. They only had a punt one time in that game. Geno Smith, he balled out, and then he dropped the quote of the year so far. He said, "They wrote me off, but I ain't right back. Let's go." That's got to get you hyped if you're a Seahawks fan. At number 25, I have the Carolina Panthers, a heartbreaker of a loss versus the Browns when they hit that buzzer beater, insanely long field goal. Baker played better as the game went on, but he just has to be better in general. It still wasn't good enough. At number 24, I have the New England Patriots. This offense is a disaster, but I feel like everyone could see that coming because the Patriots really didn't do much to help out Mac Jones this offseason, and Matt Patricia is just like not a good offensive coordinator. At number 23, I have the Washington Commanders. They won a close game versus the Jaguars, but honestly, it really wasn't that impressive. At number 22, I have the New York Giants. So they pulled off the huge road upset versus the Titans. Yes, they could have easily lost that game if Randy Bullock actually hit that field goal. But listen, Saquon is officially back. He had over 190 total yards in that game. At number 21, I have the Arizona Cardinals. Patrick Mahomes just absolutely embarrassed this defense. They had no run game going on offense, and this was just a really ugly loss for the Cardinals. At number 20, I have the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, I could have dropped this team even lower because of their outlook on the season now after Dak's injury, but honestly, I'll just wait to do that until they actually lose more games and don't just drop them lower based on their season's outlook. I mean, just a brutal night all around for the Cowboys. Their offensive line, I don't know why I said offensive line like that. Their offensive line looked absolutely terrible. Dak gets injured. They didn't score any touchdowns. They were the only team in the league to not score a single touchdown in week 1. And I just feel so bad for Cowboys fans because you wait the whole offseason for football. You have high hopes after a decent year last year, and then it feels like your season's over after week 1. That's brutal. I mean, I feel bad for any NFL fan that has to go through that. At number 19, I have the Tennessee Titans. Offense did not look good in their game this week versus the Giants. Yes, they almost won. If Randy Bullock hit that field goal, they would have won, but the team just really did not look that good versus a Giants team that really was bad last year. At number 18, I have the Cleveland Browns. Yes, they had a solid win versus the Panthers, but they're honestly looking like the worst team in their division. At number 17, I have the Indianapolis Colts. They tied versus their division rival, the Texans, which honestly isn't good for the Colts. Matt Ryan didn't look too impressive in his debut. I want to thank Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring today's video. I'm playing all my fantasy football on Underdog this season. Yes, full season drafts are done, but you can create fantasy lineups weekly or even for a single game. I've done tons of fantasy drafts with you guys live on stream. So if you guys want to play fantasy football head to head with me, make sure you sign up for Underdog Fantasy and use promo code SheGotSports because they'll match your first deposit up to $100. So if you put $10 in, you'll have a total of $20 in your account. So make sure you use that promo code SheGotSports, and the next live draft I'm going to be doing with you guys is during my live show at 3 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday. At number 16, I have the New Orleans Saints. Big comeback win for them versus the Falcons. They dropped 17 points in the fourth quarter. Jameis looked pretty good, especially in that fourth quarter. One game back from his ACL injury. At number 15, I have the Miami Dolphins. Tua stays undefeated versus the Patriots. He looked solid in his first game of the season, and that Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle combo is already looking really, really good. At number 14, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. I said this throughout the offseason. I did not like the Josh McDaniels hire. It was my least favorite hire of this offseason, and guess what? He didn't look that good as a head coach in his first game for the Raiders. Derek Carr looked like he took a step back in this game and wasn't as good as last season. Not a great start to the season for the Raiders. At number 13, I have the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, they played on a legit slip and slide this week, but Trey Lance did not look good in this game. I guess we'll have to see how he plays next week when he plays in normal conditions, but I feel like the pressure is already on Lance. At number 12, I have the Denver Broncos. Like, how do you fumble 2 times in a row at the goal line with different players? Nathaniel Hackett's clock management, play calling, decision making, all that was absolutely atrocious in the final minute of that game. Like, if you're a Broncos fan, seeing your new head coach do that has to give you no faith. Like, you got to be like, are you serious? Are you kidding me? Like, at number 11, I have the Green Bay Packers. We can already see how big a loss Adams is going to be for this Packers team. Aaron Rodgers looked frustrated out there and couldn't get more than 7 points on the board. At number 10, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Huge overtime win for them versus the Bengals. TJ Watt is obviously going to be out now, and that's a huge loss. But the big win is that he's only going to be out 6 weeks and is not going to be out the full season. Yes, 6 weeks, it's a long time, but there was a possibility he could be out the full season if he needed surgery. He doesn't need surgery. Mike Tomlin is such a good head coach. I think he'll be able to coach these guys to get some wins while their star defensive player is out. At number 9, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. Nice win for them versus the Lions, who stuck around in that game. Their offense looks unstoppable at times because of the RPO and just Jalen Hurts' ability to get to the outside, extend plays, and use his legs if a play breaks down. Also, A.J. Brown absolutely balled out in his first game for the Eagles. At number 8, I have the Minnesota Vikings. This team had the biggest jump in my power rankings this week. I mean, they proved themselves versus the Packers. I thought they were going to win this game earlier this offseason because of all the changes the Packers were going to have. Week 1, whole new wide receiver core and all that, but I didn't expect them to be this dominant. I mean, they were getting to Aaron Rodgers. They were frustrating Aaron Rodgers. Justin Jefferson said, hey, I'm going to be the best wide receiver in the league at the end of the season, and week 1 was a great starting point. He had 2 touchdowns and 184 receiving yards. The NFC is just really wide open, and I think the Vikings can actually make some noise. At number 7, I have the Los Angeles Rams. The Super Bowl champions did not look good in their first game of the season. Trevor Lawrence and Matt Stafford led the league in interceptions last year, and Matt Stafford picked up right where he left off with those interceptions, throwing a handful in this game. You could tell this defense lost a few key players in the offseason, and Jalen Ramsey was getting beat by Diggs one-on-one. At number 6, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. What is going on with Joey B and these INTs? It looked like they had won this game with the late Jamar Chase touchdown, but the extra point was blocked. This went to OT, and we all know what happened. Steelers ended up winning, but it was a close game. Can't drop them down too far, even though I'd be a little concerned if I'm a Bengals fan, but not overly concerned. It is week 1. At number 5, I have the Baltimore Ravens. They won versus the Jets. At the beginning of the game, the Ravens started out a little bit slow, or a little slower than you should start out, versus the Jets, who have Joe Flacco at quarterback. But as the game went on, they picked it up, really started to score a lot and dominate the Jets. At number 4, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. Nice division win for them versus the Raiders. Had some interceptions, and Herbie is just not human. At number 3, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You could tell this O-line is not healthy. They did end up getting the win versus the Cowboys, but on the opposite side of the ball, the defense looks really good. They're healthy this year, and they look dominant. They didn't give up a touchdown. At number 2, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes threw 5 touchdowns in his first game without Tyreek Hill. This team absolutely destroyed the Cardinals. And at number 1, I obviously have the Buffalo Bills. They absolutely lived up to the hype and some on Thursday Night Football. They exceeded a lot of people's expectations, even though their expectations were already so high. Josh Allen just looked so dominant, so unstoppable, and this defense had Stafford throwing picks left and right. That is it for this video, guys. Appreciate you watching. Peace.